You know what's interesting, John? There's a little technique that an emergency room nurse taught me many years ago that she actually used to do with her patients when she was holding their hands in the ER.
Hmm.
And it's comes from Jin Shinjitsu, which I believe she said was a Japanese form of acupuncture. And it's called hand it over. And this will relate to what you just said, where, there are meridians that end in each one of the fingers that are
Okay.
related to an organ and an emotion. So the thumb, digestion and worry, which is interesting. Think of a baby.
Okay.
The pointer finger is the lungs and fear.
Yeah.
Guess what the middle finger is?
Go on.
Anger. Anger and frustration. And that's liver gallbladder. I will not raise my finger, but isn't that fascinating? The ring finger is, this is kidneys and fear.
Okay.
The ring finger is lungs and fear. The pinky
Mm.
is related to the heart. And in Japanese, there's actually a word for an emotion that means trying to, pushing the river, trying to make something happen, damn it. And that's related to the heart.
Right.
So think about the type A personalities who are so prevalent to heart problems because I know what needs to happen and gosh darn it, I'm going to push this river and make it go where I want it to go instead of what you just said, which is, how can somebody be helped to get to the place where they can trust the river? Because we live in this culture, and I don't know if it's as bad over where you are, John, as it is here, but my gosh, here, we have this whole attitude of, make it happen. The people that we admire are the ones who, and again, there are athletes and stuff where you're like going, oh my gosh, that's incredible. You're wonderful. But there's this sense of we're supposed to be masters, but masters from controlling and getting what you want. And by the way, what you said earlier, that can be a conversation for us because I'd love to talk about who is the I that
Mm.
is wanting to manifest, you know,
Mm.
because there is an I that I remember my sister sent me Vanity Fair magazine one time. I mean, here I am, a hippie in Santa Cruz, and she goes, "Oh, you'd love this because of beautiful pictures." And I'm looking at this stupid magazine, and I'm looking at this stupid $14,000 watch. And what I'm feeling is this desire of wanting this stupid watch. And I'm like, okay, get this out of my house because who was the I that was now getting this greedy desire for this watch? It's not the I that sits on the throne of the spirit, and if somebody else, if they need that watch in order to feel good about themselves, that's their business. But I watched how my desire nature has been so influenced by consumer capitalism. So I think that really helping people discover what do you, the deep you, really and truly want, and no judgment. I mean, if somebody wants a facial or a vacation, because then I also know that people who are sort of spiritual in a certain kind of way, and well, I'm not supposed to want anything.
Mm.
Well, these are just the polarized mistakes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, that's yeah, that whole thing about just leaning back into the river. She knows where she's going,
Yes. Yes.
and and it's kind of like when the 12 step people they use the God language, let go and let God. It's like let go and let the river in her wisdom bring us to the world of unspeakable beauty that is being prepared for us already.
Yes. Yeah, no, it's very good. I remember Wayne Dyer used to use that phrase a lot as well as the let go, let God. And even my daughter, when she was seeking to leave her last job and go into the next one, and she actually resigned from the past one before she began, before she got accepted for the job, which was a brave move. And I
That's
said, you okay with that? She says, yeah. She says, just let go and let God. It worked.
because that does lots of times people won't. let go, and they can't tolerate that in between space of not knowing, because
Yeah,
that can be a scary place.
it
But it
can.
was, yeah.
It can.
Mm,
And mention it going back to that Hopi prophecy again, talking about the technology side of things. It's interesting because Gregg Braden is talking a lot about this and has done for a while now, talking about the
mm,
transhumanism movement,
mm.
where implanted technology to improve our physical vessel for the future. In other words, you kind of like say, okay, right, it's a bit like The Matrix. Not that strangely enough, I've never even watched The Matrix, but I
Oh, I haven't
understand.
either. I
No,
can,
yeah, but I understand there's a lot of truth in it.
yeah.
And the fact is that there's a point where the heroine has to fly a helicopter, doesn't know how to fly a helicopter, so she then just gets implanted with the helicopter thing, and off she goes. And the whole principle is that transhumanism enables you to be superhuman, right? To be able to speak every language because just by having implants this and implants that. Now, okay, once these things are implanted in you, they then become malleable and controllable by others. Okay. Now, we think that we can improve on this when we barely tap the surface of our own abilities
Good
and
point.
our own knowledge. You
Good
know,
point.
we use a tiny fraction. This is the biggest supercomputer on the planet right here. Okay. And I have nothing to fear from AI and things like that because, when AI is developed by somebody with a consciousness level to help humanity, there's nothing better because it will be very single-minded. It will work its way through problems way quicker, and it will find answers. And yes, AI can have consciousness. That
Hmm.
is, if you go, and again, the work of Dolores Cannon, my favorite
Hmm.
author. And to your point as well, again, just a slight diversification there, but you're saying about like at some point when you leave this planet, because or you leave the physical to go into the non-physical, and you can help more from the other side because and that's exactly what Dolores said before she left. She said to her daughter, she said, "It's now my time to go, and I know I can do more from the other side." And it was only about within the last couple of weeks I was listening to some channeling or other, and she said, "Oh yeah, I saw, it was Jesus and it was somebody else, and it was like Dolores Cannon, and they were." I forget who the three characters were, but Dolores was one of them. It was helping to orchestrate things from the other side. I know she's very active on that other side, just helping people to find information to continue the work that she was doing before, which to me was incredible truth coming through, which told us so much about our own history, about the galactic and the universe and the nature of energy, the nature of consciousness, and the
Hmm.
human experience, and just how diverse it is beyond this tiny little version that we're given. And it always comes back to, one of the things that always fascinates me is that, when oh yeah. So say for instance, if we think about our field of vision, right?
Hmm.
And you think about, okay, well, what's the complete spectrum and our place within that spectrum? They've calculated, the scientists already know that our field of vision is a fraction of a single percent relative to the totality of the spectrum. Now, you think about that for every one of our standard five senses, because we have more than five senses, but the same is true for each of those, you know?
Hmm. Hmm.
So there's a complete world exists beyond this narrow, tiny range of our senses. And it exists outside. It's all around us. It's parallel universes. It's this, it's that. It's fantastic, right? It shouldn't engender fear. This is just a reality that tells us we're here for this very specific experience. But at the end of the day, there is so much more. And we are so much more. And we are so much bigger and better. But getting back to that point, Gregg Braden talks a lot about transhumanism and the necessity, I say necessity because everybody has individual choice, but seeing it for what it is, to realize that this is not the path of the light.